Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. It's Monday. We've still got to wait another week for Chelsea to play. This has been a long international break, but at least we can be excited if you support England now because we got a great new manager. It's a new era and we're bouncing, we're moving. We beat Albania 2-0. And if you want to see 6 things we learned when Chelsea aren't playing, I've started doing it on more GBFC as well. There's a sick video going out there today. I've been loving posting over on the second channel. I'll leave a link in the description. We did 6 things for England's win against Albania. It is great fun. Today, though, we have got a lot of Chelsea news to discuss. We are hearing a lot of stories at the moment about a summer exodus. Sounds dramatic, doesn't it? But the way that Chelsea's squad planning has been in the recent years, we were told that it was going to be like a 4-window strategy. It turns out it's probably going to be a strategy that will go on forever. We will see how we fare, but today we're going to give the latest, probably more so on player exits than anything else. However, last week I discussed the Jadon Sancho debate. We talked about should we sign him, should we not sign him, and now it looks as though we've got a bit more clarity. Even as fans, this is kind of important when it comes to making a decision or formulating your opinion. Chelsea must pay Manchester United 5 million quid if Jadon Sancho loan is not turned permanent in the summer. 24-year-old winger left MUFC on temporary basis with by obligation worth up to 25 million, but CFC can opt out for a set fee. First of all, right, as the player, let's think about everybody involved here. If you're Jadon Sancho, right, and you leave Manchester United where you were supposed to become this special player, 87 million you were bought for, Man United are still paying for him, which is absolutely bonkers. But you go on loan to Chelsea, right? You start really well and then it's all kind of like tapered off, petered off a little bit. But imagine if you've got an obligation to buy, but the club would rather pay a fine to not sign you. As a footballer, that doesn't look good. If Jadon Sancho isn't wanted by Man United, goes to Chelsea for a year and then isn't wanted by Chelsea, the chances of Sancho ever getting a big Premier League move again are pretty much zero at that point. However, I'll say something like this, right? Callum Hudson-Odoi wasn't wanted at Chelsea, apparently. Now look what he's doing at Nottingham Forest. Key player in a team that are overachieving, overperforming. So it's not like the door would be shut on Sancho forever. Because Sancho showed at Dortmund what he can do. Even showed on loan at Dortmund last year that he's still a really good player. For Manchester United, I mean, they're going to get some money regardless. But then if Chelsea pay that fine, United is still burdened with a player that is on stupidly high wages that like the fact is, right, Sancho isn't worth 300 grand a week. We know that. Everybody knows that. He's still living off of that like promise that we saw at Dortmund that Man United bought into that. Man United bought the player that was performing at Dortmund and gave him the wages that he thought was befitting of what he was worth. So Sancho is kind of still laughing, but that doesn't really put the pressure on him to be a top quality footballer. There is still a chance here that Chelsea activate this 25 million buy obligation. I mean, it's one or the other, isn't it? Pay the fee and the fine, or you sign him. It's an obligation. It's not like, should we, shouldn't we? Although it kind of is, should we, shouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? But I think 5 million, it's probably the best option. If it was like 10, 15 million, then you might as well sign him and try and sell him, I guess. But like the fact it's 5 million... this is the kind of fee that you would pay to loan a player of that quality and that level. So Chelsea paying the fine, it should be more so looked at as like, okay, well, that is the fee that we paid to have Sancho for a season. I don't want to see Chelsea burdened with having a player that isn't good enough, but we're having to pay these stupid wages for because that's what his contract says. Do you know what I mean? So for Sancho, I think he's got 9-game audition again here. He's either going to go and give it everything and turn up and show his value, in which case, yeah, great, let's sign him. But we haven't seen that really yet at all. So it's been very much a season of 2 halves for Jadon Sancho. Started really well. It's very much tapered and petered off. And at this point, based on what we've seen recently, I wouldn't be too unhappy. if Chelsea paid this fine and didn't sign Sancho on a permanent. But the fact is 5 million, I mean, it is what it is. We move into the next story. Let me know your thoughts on Sancho in the comments down below. Relations between Chelsea and Sancho are strong, and the club's intention to sign a new winger in the upcoming market relates more to the uncertainty over Mykhailo Mudryk's availability. This is a little bit concerning here, because Chelsea went from having a plethora, an abundance of wingers, to it being like, well, Mudryk doesn't exist basically anymore. Sancho's not very good. So that's the left side, like, null and void, basically. And Quenda's joining to come in a year's time. So we've basically gone from having so many options to pretty much having no options. So regarding the latest with Mudryk, Sevilla are now the latest club that are considering a surprise move. I'm kind of just tired of us not knowing what's going on with Mudryk right now. I think we all basically know in our heads, based on rational logic, that he's probably going to get a long-term ban. But I also think there must be some kind of ambiguity, and I don't want to go full conspiracy theory here, because look, we could be here all day debating what could have happened to Mudryk's samples. Was he like, I'm not going to go into it. I'm just not going to do it, okay? The next piece of news that we're going to discuss today is Andre Santos's comments regarding coming back to Chelsea. This is what he said about Esteval. Esteval is a top quality player, world-class player. It's very early to say that, but he does look good, doesn't he? God willing, he'll go far, and we can create a great duo at Chelsea, a duo of Brazilians. This is what he said to ESPN Brazil. I am very much of the opinion that Andre Santos could and should be involved in Chelsea's squad next season. As much as I've spent a lot of time sat in front of this very camera criticising the club's insistence, really, on buying so many young players, not addressing experience and leadership within the squad to bring balance to the team, I think Santos is so good. I've seen him week after week at Strasbourg this season, delivering. He scores goals, he's great defensively, wins his duels. He's all round, looks like a quality midfielder. And there's been a lot of rumours that Chelsea will be open to selling Andre Santos because we bought him at a low price. He's already worth a lot more. It is a prime example of how this Chelsea model works. You buy players at cheap prices before they blow up. When they blow up, you make profit on them. And what we were led to believe at the start, which is kind of like what we buy into for this project, is the best ones stay at Chelsea. Now, if that is true, we'll find out this summer, won't we? Because Andre Santos, of all of these like young players, obviously Palmer's the one who has exponentially increased his value. But Santos is another one where we know now he's worth way more than the 10, 15 odd million it was that we spent on him. So based on what we've seen this season, we need backup in the middle. We're hearing that the priorities are a striker this summer. Well, that's not central midfield. So we should be keeping Santos. And he's talking about Esteval as a player that he wants to build a Brazilian partnership with at Chelsea. I'm all for it. I'm excited about both of them. The next story. Chelsea have big respect for Armando Broja. Coming from the academy, a good talent, but Chelsea do not believe he can be an important part of the squad in the future. I expect him to be on the market. This is a tweet from the Blue Dodger. It comes from Fabrizio Romano. Armando Broja is a name that we're still talking about because we've not been able to offload him. The more players Chelsea have, I saw the story last week that we've got 89 male professionals at Chelsea right now. The longer certain players go without finding moves, the harder it becomes for Chelsea to command good fees. There was a time that Armando Broja was on the market and he was, £30 million striker? Chelsea wanted 40 for him. We couldn't get that. It's ridiculous. The man's never really kick-started his career in any form. And eventually, these players, their market value does become so low. So I think for Chelsea this summer, there are certain players where you just got to get them off the books. You've just got to, for their own careers as well. I want Broja to go on and do something somewhere because we've heard his name for so long. But he's not done anything. He had that injury, whatever. Armando Broja is going to leave. And the next story is Joao Felix. We've got to stop here and talk about this one a little bit more. If Chelsea get a good proposal, I think there is a good possibility for Joao Felix to leave on a permanent transfer. AC Milan at the moment are not proceeding with any negotiation or intention to keep Joao Felix. If you guys haven't seen the video I made on Joao Felix, I went in on this guy. Not necessarily all negative stuff, but like when it comes to analysis, the main takeaway I made from that video was that Joao Felix is an expensive problem, and it's always been a case of whose expense is he on, right? Right now, he's at AC Milan. There was like a flash of brilliance at the start, and that is the story of Joao Felix. There's flashes of brilliance, but then when it comes to consistency, which is what you're paying for, if you pay the wages of a footballer, you've got to pay them, whether they're consistent or not. Felix is a problem because he's a luxury player who struggles to fit into any kind of system that he's ever been in. And now it's going to become Chelsea's problem again in the summer. And the problem with Felix is the more clubs he goes to, and we're talking about some of the biggest clubs in the world, Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Chelsea, AC Milan, no one wants him. This is a huge problem. So again, similar to that of Jadon Sancho, time isn't on your side. There are going to be now the next rung of clubs below your Chelseas and AC Milans that will look at Joao Felix, but then again, the players on a lot of flipping money, Chelsea are the ones burdened with that contract. Is any club that are on that ladder lower than Chelsea going to want to pay Felix? I don't know. Does Felix have the integrity, I guess, to be like, well, I probably don't deserve that wage anymore. Probably don't deserve that ilk of clubs to be interested in me anymore. So I'll take my wages down and I'll go because I want to play football. That is what we're hoping for here, because otherwise we're going to have a summer of trying to, stick a flipping square peg in a round hole, because Felix just isn't all of a sudden going to blow up at Chelsea. I'm not expecting that. I don't think you are either. But it's just a mess, isn't it, really? We only bought this guy not even a year ago, and it's already a case of, well, we don't want him. Does anyone flipping want him? Joao Felix, an expensive Chelsea problem. Raheem Sterling, another expensive problem, because Arsenal will not be signing Raheem Sterling this summer. So again, a player that is on stupidly high wages. Chelsea are obviously going to be desperate to get rid of him because he doesn't warrant those wages anymore. Who's going to want Sterling? It's the same case as Felix, the same case as Sancho. An expensive problem for someone, but who? And at the moment, it's Chelsea in the majority of these cases. So we're going to need to find a home for Raheem Sterling. Ben Chilwell, another player that's going to leave. I mean, I might as well have titled this video The Exodus of Players this summer, because that is the news at the moment. Chelsea will be getting rid of loads of players. Ben Chilwell, I'll say it again, I think he's been poorly treated at Chelsea. Champions League winner, top player, but again, not even given a look in because he's on high wages and we're trying to cut that wage bill. Disasi, it's also over for him at Chelsea. So Aston Villa, he's done quite well there, to be fair. So let's see if he goes from Aston Villa to Aston Villa. I don't know what's going to happen here, but one thing we do know, to conclude all of the news for today's video, Chelsea, I've said it already 3 videos ago. Whichever way you look at it, when you're getting rid of that many players, you're rebuilding again. How many summers are we going to keep signing, hoping that it works, realizing it doesn't, before we start to go, hang on a minute, let's just pinpoint and just cherry pick now some players that we know are good enough and bring those in and build from there. We need a spine. We still don't have a spine, and we're going to be losing a load of players again this summer because they're overpaid, don't fit, and were wrongly profiled when we bought them in the first place. But anyway, that's the news. Here to talk about it today. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. As I said at the start of the video, subscribe to more GBFC 2. The link is in the description, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Come on, you Blues.